Okay, so like the name of the answer right now is that let's say we are already find out maybe and text the duties that we made us aware that we are different that when we sort of create that meeting goes up to sub gather and if we don't good that's to that from them gather that is not free that's that's like the height but definitely at that point we have to take away achieving that and take that point is going crazy and that thing. So the right of today was like looking at it. And then I'm just speaking to that the whole mindset of that definitely being that simple and being like the mastermind to do trade of being that I would be around the lines of that is kind of that might just move that so like at that point I'm going to think for like one to be feeling extremely worried as well as that it will be certain things of feeling like that and in as well connected to that the situation which let's say that has ended up in the that mentioned as well as like the extreme change of situation which like never more as well as like there is of events of the person the same the black kind of only if they are on the line black that they would be feeling at that point of view and so that they was going that when to finish mind to like the still not forward finds like the core master of like kind of negatively uh and then she gets faster the control character to get on the line don't you for the thing that the very good only it's not fine definitely on the line so that they are choosing to have the that like the actual master of that the high side made that only concept certainly not and so that they are going to concept might be that bank might be law the case in like the guys of that concept certainly different and so that concept that might the concept actually might be a long and that concept scale might be a bit uh, the height of long might be that's actually different to the million and concept have might do a will with that as well as the spell that the long of that law which might be like the actual and that actually long is like long as well might be straight class of like long that might actually not have a review of class to that might be all part of the non of that long like the stress the long is the stress might be like the actual the play but so that about the light of the like it might be due to last Wednesday's lab investigations into like the whole month of the progressing to lab the situation uh, of that progress, which like it might have been conflict that might have been like the project right that is correct Wednesday's lab investigations into that month of the situation. So reaching it into it that investigation process reaching like the situation that lab might have attempted so that the correct thing attempt that left on might have attempted through that the purpose that like a lot of kids I'd like to get that thing because like Wednesday and time and the uh might be that might have been a police care that it so that the phrase that if like the hope of like that care Wednesday to that with it might have been actually the minimum condition for that still with that that resilience and that it's not continuous progress investigation might have been that the reason for like this right now that a consequence that that not taking out inbox so kind of might be like that to the cleaning because like the terms of the investigation that something might appear like the possibility of that basically on that against that symbol as well as that at that point that the statement of that during the interrogation state the statement of that symbol as well as say that like the possibility of that they complement each other and that they are think that like perspective about that I the master right and it's not seeing some other situation other than symbol in favor like basically that should be leading that Galton as well say possibly towards like Thomas might be alone confident might be along the lines of like the fear that Ponty might have had, and this might be the reason for like Ponty not like the political movement or still might have been sexual to do the or to the kind of like take out in both so that like Savior or by himself won't be having anybody else to that competent that serious that statement of that trying to open that and in the at that point during that train away from the album might be along the lines of like that trend of like the rhythms like a positive and Yeah, but the real mention that song it might actually have like power to what would have like the power to like transform into a time within other and that way like not in for a while might have instantly observe and spying on Wednesday and think from it and for a while by now maybe like actually the purposes of the that way like by now last song it might be sort of spying that song of like things by now that Council might be by now totally aware of like things like the and things like blind side might be like that was a pretty good friend might be how like Council might have been able to that the that like take back the of things uh might be like the actual considered like the possibility that I'm looking when say like a continent and local something it might have been profit and even post that it might have been post that to the chemical method and it might have been process that has your awakening like the fight within side might be like that will be that actually might be no, it's like definitely my friends and my friends were something might have been creating or has about this more confidence than that time and for like and for about the big absolutely no one finding out like the secret safe in that the secret library in that now and like that secret diary contained it and that way like not no one finding out about like the secret diary and that's about like documenting about like the types contained in that secret safe within that secret library. It might be an outline of the all confidence in that something might have had. But like I'm going that secret library outside that secret safe, there might have been other books as well that might have had like information on trades. But like the core information on trades might have been present in that diary, in that secret safe might have been like that book is introduced technique about that inventory, and it might have been those other books who might have had like some extent of like information on trades that like those might have been what like Johnson, it might have been Johnson that might have stored up in front of like the mountain scale in the middle of that night when Eugene was like flying on like on like the area of like some of the scales on that the night of like the raven that we made that then like might have been like so in the grasshopper that like Eugene had that which is grasshopper that Eugene had that might have been the song in upset like basically thing and strategically going up to that location in the grasshopper form and then she made a shift back to her original human form. And while she might have been wearing that sick clothes, might have been what might have happened, and like what she might have destroyed back then in front of that most of the cave might have been those other books containing information. So the next step of it might have been like active investigation because like something might appear like the possibility of like Western eventually in some investigation eventually ending up uh, finding like the digital library and like finding those other books. Uh, this might have contained like information from like right, but still it might have been something like more confidence that like something might have still strongly believes that like our friend that basically Wednesday will still never be able to that find or like absolutely no one is going to that find like the secret diary in like that state within like the user later. It may be around the end of like that or confidence that like something might have happened. It might be the reason for like talking no story that it might be that the actuality of like the case actually the individual like a person to that and the about it and so right. So yeah, so like definitely my category attention right now, definitely go up like 20 right now in a really polite and it's only concern manner like asking Tyler about like home Tyler's like the high Tyler's like master okay. But like I'm definitely talking Tyler at that point. Definitely lines to like Wednesday and like telling like making up like excuses to make it appear as if like kind of doesn't know what like when they still talking about. Definitely have to bring like the high style of like definitely protecting ensuring to like protection is like master. It might have what the correct might be also it's like seven scenarios then with the sorry. Definitely have to bring that might have been one of like, the very first orders like the master council might have given to Tyler after like awakening like the type within Thailand might have been attracted to the human brain. That like it's like Thailand like the point about like Thailand to a height is the injury gets found out by anyone, then certainly Tyler has to that ensure to protect that the identity of that the high Tyler, that master and like all of uh, through any means might be along the lines like consequence like Thornhill might have given us like one of like the very initial orders to Tyler after like awakening that the high Tyler. In that the master might have been that translated into the so that we know the reality. But they had a pretty much revelation that like Tyler's mother might be all the Malakova, so the highest of the Malakova might be like the gate, so like about to be there and the all right. So definitely I was trying like right now for like Wednesday to the really attempt to get that social information out of the Tyler and select. So Tyler, the high Tyler's master assigned with me. Soon after that, Wednesday will be asking this to like Tyler, like I'm referring like Tyler starting to like target Wednesday and following that appointment in that initial order which might exist from like not to either from like the past like either starting with that forum through that order and basically from that went on like the high either regarding to that target Wednesday to that text Wednesday help is that same good scenario that I'm bringing so like definitely I'm doing like after like Wednesday asking this question to that either like without Wednesday delay and only covering like the most of come for Black Wednesday. In that I want to come for Wednesday like into scenario that was only covering the brain right. So like a clean up friends right now that like it might have been like mortals that like we attempt to that fortunately set up that like a false evidence against that Sega as well as for the literally friend Sega and like the identity of that the fight monster and they do that way to like literally get that Sega monster might be end of the line for that to happen might be like the reason for like Sega like of the brand like Stadium from like it was being filled with like the drawings of like the monster that in actuality that as well as like the scratch mark on like Stadium's neck all of that might have been most likely the one of like counting along with like China might have been like a race that you know because like the later part of what she's that evident again like Sega that what McDonald might have been that Donald might have been secretly finds on Sega and when Sega would be entering into that room to that row at that point that Donald might still be straight into that room in front of the performance that we might have gone like Sega to pass out exactly like how when they runs out after like seeing that the height monster initially in like the wrong implement like exactly how when that found out like on that in counting might have also like that way that saver actually to that out of whenever saver might be entering into that row containing the call might have been one that happened to me also. So like whenever like saver would be waking up like at between that time where saver would be in that transfer state that can be from that one content might have disappeared that might have involved might have would be had answer might have got that type of testing to that location so in that point something and Tyler might have entered into that moment the league since like Tyler like I said that Tyler might be the league a good slot certainly so like definitely Thornhill might have given the or also like Tyler to that draw or with that painted uh drawing of that the iron monster before that Sega based off from like about the state that same scenario that I was going so like that way to like make it here that way to like include it that failure like from the like drawing from like the item from and that way to that for the players like false evidence and framing against like say the while also simultaneously to like manipulate say the saying that basically it was like favor himself that had gone or that wrong uh, might be around the line from public and like even the crash moment on that previous next as well that the culprit might have been tied up according to like the order of that topic might have been like the project into the limit. So like even while Saver from the sort like the painting stayed alive. And then it might have been a scenario where like Saver might have once again ended up in that past of state when once that Saver woke up from like the after state in that room containing all the so it's like Saver might have woken up to another drawing from that the Muslim side right in front of that Caesar. And Caesar, like the moment Caesar made a walk up, that after Caesar might have had like the scratch mark on his neck. So like that way that might have been a manifestation of Caesar by on him as side up. Might have been what might have happened. So that Caesar saying that the throne came alive. That brought like right might have been what might have happened if the food might have today. So that way to like for like the third person who would be like winner in all this to like probably strongly have like feel the suspicion towards like or to feel the suspicion towards like say the like the public of the being like the high mark that might be along the lines totally might have Williams is trying against let's say the like Tyler might have been what might have happened especially the brain and so that I don't know might into the impression that that's what the investigation might be not what like Taylor might be saying but like the nightmares topics like say the to last or on the great number of pictures of like the iPhone but naturally it might have been like say the like particularly like seeing and seeing state parks like say the seeing more and more drawings of like the iPhones of the like may have been scenario like say the entering that room of like say the online say the passing out to the like something and when like say that would be waking up like say the seeing this like height most of drawing creating something like say you assuming that it was in chat all that and basically the like repeatedly happening someone like this started to like repeatedly happening like it might be slowly through such a manner of battle that say just might have started to like have this like after that might have been more might have like because it might be the other way around and that as well, like stage of thinking that it's like sort of around right video to like for stage of that things so things ending up being personally confused and like with you ending up like actually getting like things that without even wanting even trying to throw up the man when we so figure that it comes to that assumption that it means what like the diagram that for like say the to like or with like multiple from something like that when it might naturally might have been like the affair of like my it's like the probably that I was point and might be like that just is like the probably that I was right like okay so that the plea might trend right now for glass kind of eventually getting triggered extended triggered by a correlated substance of that Wednesday Wednesday that connect pilot to that hide not and is the pilot at that point that is also telling that person into that breaking the chain and that person to like the most of writing for the reference state and also with that now that engineer at that point like I was right away on person into like the hiding like into that hide that is going left to sidewalk and kind of straight away. The heightness of kind of straight away skating to left the ball, the left to intentional and able to go in any range right there. And that way when state like interrogation attempt of like kind of like elegant even Australia and this league and say not being able to like find out whom like the get that confirmation from kind of has to like import has to like space of season of like import being that the mass of black side are reflecting with an article that is very brain on the right. Okay, so I'm actually interested right now, especially for black one, black gas and everything of black and from the brain that they are just finding either in an issue like state and west right and basically at that point of so they think for that they are to be extremely curious those like just curious and enraged with like when they but they are doing like they are shouting at that Wednesday and like straight away that maintaining side of this like the scenario that I'm presented. So that and at that point that Kelvin will be like taking side up back home that on as like he would be getting side up onto the he will be allowed to get side up into the car and that will have to get them to bring up the collective interrogation questions of Jack Wednesday by then you know from like kind of to get triggered to great extreme that basically by then like Galvin would be about to get kind of into the sector like I said last second understand that kind of at that point in an extremely enraged manner like turning into like the head motion is like the scenario there. And at that point, like getting being able to stop, yeah, and as like Tyler would be about to, and at the point at that point, Tyler being about to like take off, yeah, it's like the scenario there. But like by then, after becoming like Wednesday, it's only showing up is that so like that it's of skill, it's like the scenario that I'm listening to and at that point, I'm totally putting on like Wednesday, well, to like get into like serious trouble. It's like the height of the height of like the scenario that I'm at that point, only putting like when they kind of like the I want to kind of like about the record when stands when like the scenario so like first day in by that could be thankfully in that injured kind of like state. And I'm the different like when they only thing that like get more from like let's say but like at that with last again it's when I'm the different like I'm different the like returning back like the scenario that I'm doing and at that point I'm the like Jack and like I'm just by going up to like when states of that point, at that point, I'm looking that at that point, I'm looking for like starting to doing like electric power like thing of the system as like the high side of it, like things which are that it's like so and I'm looking like Galvin like would be using that concept like side and kind of state and something like interpersonal like in the would be some of the things that is plugin still foundation yeah like I'm doing like the high side of things that is like for kind of but like that will last again I'm doing like in that and they live in Indian space that putting out some sort of like a front here. So the last second as last final would be about to like the head monster final of the other to take on with the stuff, which should be stopping final. But the head monster final is selected, it's not and you know the game. So like going to my friend so to be most likely thought is that way they're going to put like the head monster final collecting that the past and it's so deciding that the index behind like the question parts might have been for like concept to like maybe create like a new monster like basically a new plant-based monster plant-based like yet like humanoid kind of like monster and basically to create that monster like the parts might be required for like concept might be that getting investigation of players so then for concept to like kind of have to achieve a realistic work like to have do not just rely on like the high most of high level of but to also create this like new most of and basically new plant is kind of like most of the sector parts and like to use both most of to like achieve something related both so right now it might be like the case definitely most of it and because of the community of it. Okay, so like particularly in terms of right now that like exactly is that how is that the big expert of like the whole thing was like someone had that was like trying that taking on the page on the from out of like not like I'm trying to check the case of like when there's like person as well come totally for him for the data in the someone that would be trying the car and was taking it out of technology more at that point I'm so different foreign singular like rushing in and basically that anything that at that point would be absolutely across and basically would be tears and basically uh, would be totally badly visit that like then they could stay and everything and basically at that point the name is bring the entire husband like the end of the husband and different and to also show and basically the entire different by then like I'm going that all the different between that the entire say that and that the entire might have let go of all of that and then so the Bianca as well at that point so become feeling seeing the balance like I'm becoming maybe even feeling to a certain extent of like guilt for like approaching between which has traveled into that about like Wednesday like an origin of spider which can spiral into darkness state explosion so like Bianca so they don't buy that like feeling that Wednesday about like Wednesday like explosion and Bianca going up to that absolute product to that Wednesday as the like scenario of that was really and then something with sex from like don't taking with and out of like no like listen out of that. And so like I'm putting by then like when set will be probably feeling that it's like all like when set. It's like and when so they feel not feeling anything it is point to like things within outside of the world. So secondly I'm point that the pathway that like the road leading to like the brain state like I'm putting that there might be a huge spots on like the roadside in like the pathway leading to like the brain stations from like now what might be detected to this the replacement brain. So like definitely I'm point like this way leading long So they're into like the train station, they play like and like stock in the crowd, and they don't hit putting on that as just pay attention in front of like Wednesday and like don't hit. But only the thing to be telling us that I'm like don't actually want a private talk with like Wednesday, that they since that they won't be don't won't be able to like see Wednesday again. Since like Wednesday is definitely the more and that don't won't be able to like see Wednesday again. Like not definitely they're currently putting on that actual fake acting and so like putting on fake acting of like in the acting in the concern, extremely concerned manner towards like Wednesday wanting to like talk to that one. We just have at least one final talk with like Wednesday about Wednesday leaves uh would be an enzyme that's not related within that Wednesday not reporting from that and also looking that way that not in that we're telling Wednesday that basically that's a bit that's outside of the along the range like talking to the Wednesday and that bit talking like in a manner like throwing us there out from like the roadside and a bit deeper into like the nearby cost of like things which are not there under the rain. Once don't and I'm going like along the way like I'm going like don't continuously interacting with like when saying like extremely polite manner, but like I'm they will be getting a bit deeper into like the works like I'm thinking like so his like that manner from answer like and so on from voice like everything changing with like things out of that again. At that point is when I'm whispering like when they having like getting like the social revelation of like it's definitely the scenario that according to my personal theory and that like Thornhill is in fact like the mastermind of people of like the high side. So they along the lines of the spring that that's all we find that answer from the Thornhill was like revealing that like at that point still on the tour and like the high Tyler like at that point still like showing up behind Wednesday from that form with like the scenario that was named like and Tyler quickly turning into like the high monster and at that point I was going that Wednesday ending up in like such a trans kind of like situation and had the end of the time probably putting for like two months like that and at that point I'm looking for like for like the balance between like the high monster kind of and Wednesday and Wednesday having her own own and but these at least the Wednesday using also the strategies that like in like the bad like the right monster pile up and like in for like into all of that that for strategies that are basically eventually when they're getting into like serious stuff and at that point I'm talking also about it kind of like not successful like making it concern because like maybe I'm just trying to kind of I didn't haven't that much like extreme concern for like definitely after like the injury of like technical injury that thing that I think like the system might have been deeply worried about like my say that like the system might have had like a change of mind and might have decided to like stick around and not really never more than during a point that creates like one possibility that understand that way under the like totally understood we can think of like under the basically under the like coming into like those days of rescue and at that point I'm different like the ultimate battle between like under the and like the fight most of the fight like the scenario that I was saying eventually under the like starting to get for by that Tyler but like I said, we last second time for the lessons they need sacrifice back into like the match with things of like an ultimate strategy, which would be exerting in that high month of high getting more fun and repeated. Then like post like and gather reflect in the scenario of like only one more to that and the other possibility that I'm looking for like the stuff like actually having left and basically that time with the stuff not going on to like let's say the Australian like one like the fundamental directing like they will be getting into from the like against like in like the band against like the right most of side and like that with last second we like showing up making something as like in like the transform form of like the high monster. It's taking like the transform form of like high monster of the and we game at that point like the battle between like the high monster transform form of that team versus like uh the high monster. Say Tyler like doing scenario that I think it's like doing in the ending of like or Tyler and basically that way I love getting captured and that way we usually ending up being like someone being the open or basically ending up coming to like doing like Wednesday in that experience because of working like Wednesday. Let's start off from the so like I'm going like how that might be happening as one of the my two through like the game maybe for like that can go being extremely having been extremely close to like Steamboat. So like them putting like the law of Steamboat and activity matter seriously affected like in a lot especially my friends. So the same is for as like when state was to like seen about like the characters confidence that they believe and seriousness that like kind of is like high like when state saying that to like seen from the friend that so clear content seems to like feel a bit more like and basically eventually ending up with like being actually consequences positively and the layer of the friend like being like setting like the thoughts of uh, that like in that the second is like symbol the second of like kind of is like symbol like the records about like silence that symbol would have symbol have like basically been going through that many people like going through that literally and basically at that point that we actually seem to be feeling strongly that basically is unstable like a right moment and basically that point like we probably having that change in his mind and basically we actually feeling that like the high monster finance should be stopped before like as like the principle of like never more academy and leave it like so many of them that really home as well as that you gain that all of the thing affected by like child monster and for like the safety of that remaining students of like never more like and like the principle of like never more academy in only feeling actually feeling a responsibility at that point and basically taking it upon themselves that basically to find out that and they need to get side out to send back like the child monster then for like being to like actually stop Tyler and basically get Tyler upset will be like along the lines of the convenience usually come down to like how that change of mind and come down to such a supplement flow. So like I'm looking like all that happening by the time like talking about our taken Wednesday out of like never more responsible that person is like the another dimension. That way like I'm trying exactly while Wednesday will be in that critical situation in that whole value against that situation against like the right month of I love like being exactly by then like being after having all this data realization and change of mind upon the realization that we making up and taking the form of like another height monster looking in that shape about and it's the battle between that the height monster transform form teams and that the height monster fighters happening and that way through being like the one in the ending up being like the stage of that landscape that given the scenario that I'm looking that way, like Tyler eventually getting seems proceeding Tyler and eventually Tyler eventually getting catches and eventually and so that way like the social domination about the mind frame was like about the like the identity of like profit actually being that of like the probability of profit being that of like law of case consideration that getting profit and basically that way like profit as well getting after was like diligent motivation scientific developing and that way like a bit more like change like bringing Wednesday back to like the expel Wednesday back into that rejoining in our academy to that given the positive scenario that I'm going to in the brain. And from that point on, the bond between that team and Wednesday that having that to grow from that point on, yeah, in the scenario that I'm going to bring in. Okay, so like continuous films, so right now I'm talking about explore like super to this either during like the leaving of like then get from never known academy like in the student then like I'm the maybe for that to be the absence of dreams because anyone comparison that we having that change of mind that we made it during that point that we going up to last year ago to basically check the records of that students of about the success with that stage but like the kind of that's one of the that I'm development that I'm running for that's known to be the case during that exact time and then it is the process signal between actually being present while when they is dealing never more academy and at that point I'm totally running for that being totally allowing when space to that mean region but like I'm just running that's the case then I'm totally working uh, for like still I'm just trying to activate on his that would be taking place away from like nevermore but and basically along the way to that using hospital and different that before things up is when I'm was going that's the case then I'm just communicating for the definitely before that before taxation is there to Eugene is when I'm referring that pocket to that nature move and basically stop the car and basically get Wednesday to into that area like for when like chosen to be making up the like absolute to be or domestic identity. According to my friend, the is like in scenarios that and then like maybe might be having that the fear. So like you didn't have that like walking down the like the price of them like basically maybe starting fearing like the possibility of like maybe like you get evidence or social information about like the price of that and it's like master. Since like I got during that point like actually that might have been also like think of like something has well it's this might have been wanting that might have like destroyed like what might have been in front of like the about the microphone in front of like the state of like the kind monster of the league might be remembered. So that I'm just trying like maybe wanted feeling that feeling running behind that feeling that fear of like basically maybe that muting feeding possibly cutting in like Wednesday maybe finding out about like the actual true master of like Tyler. And basically that way like that's again then I'm going to find that it's on that way to the fear kind of the thing like what is making us move on like Wednesday before like getting the state like it was like one of the other positive that I'm referring it for like pocket maybe getting all confident and basically taking when they to usually and I'm referring for to be like an interaction totally happening between lab and state and usually where like I'm referring like usually totally revealing to lab and state about like him totally you know things just like on that night when we have encountered like the item of the like Eugene like more executive like thinking of like handle yourself so that personally that specific revelation of that specific serial and resulting in like them say maybe like coming down to the conclusion of like basically that possibly being like the take the fountain and basically about to them like talking and when they're that point remembering how like basically when they own that might take the revenge that how they have like the vision of like the of that using being in proper when in like like until like this event say that social information is like when there is in that time might have probably forgotten about like when there is something that and at that point I think yeah, at that point like when they probably maybe come down to the conclusion that like it's in both and it's like only that like actually you know and this like the map of like high basically, and obviously, like maybe I'm looking at the having that realize it from the interaction with like the like let's say well having that interaction with like engineer person like thought is to not be to be feeling more confident and like to not be spying on that but feeling like let's say and using that way like it's from that point onwards like the remaining journey of like to the orientation of like Wednesday and thought it would be continuing at that point like let's say like probably preparing that side to face off against against content and like the ideas of pilot and all that like when they from that one like to be expecting like content to like make a move eventually on like when they before getting let's say to that organization. It's like this is not better other than calculating that when they don't know that either is like I know gonna basically especially with lab when they being like only trying to lab get that export that information but Liam was putting that content would be a minor fixing our mind to that but they to take out Wednesday to go that getting a state to like the big state or like the legal state expecting content to the future in next move and that way I can bring it to the one flat for like content midway lab basically has been Wednesday for that pilot content like in like any other for that they are like Wednesday being totally agreeing and basically totally being approaching the fact that what to do in an extremely prepared manner. Uh, prepared manner to that face off in an ultimate match against like the high side up and so it's like another direction. So like maybe I'm putting that serious and I'm maybe putting that along the way after like having the interaction with like the numbers and like let's say maybe secretly having like some sort of like uh magical serious kind of like device with like when they so which like when they after like the interaction with you in that typically making that contact the flag, with the flag control, and that way like I'm putting that control like exactly managing to like to come back to that comes to that when they don't see exactly by like the bad against like that like what I know it would be nothing with like the incorporate other scenario that under the like and again so right. So that you know right now like that they might have walked in that they might have walked of that never as well as like the report to that injury ending up clashing against each other and taking each other and from that so to get the front might have been more like something from like a like long days might have actually water. So certainly might have to understand because like definitely I was going that something might have had like the like towards like more compared to like the lot of long days like in progress. And at the same time like I'm saying that something more like long days might have had just like Dr. Fraxton more along might have been like that could be the case but level correct and that way like hence like uh, the phrase of that fire will rain which might in actually might have been that in during that the era of like the background might have been like that same style of like the rest of that follows might have kept on repeating which might have been like the background itself might have always repeated along with the follows it might have been that fire with train so that is deep in that so that in that you get from within natural games from where like the tile of inside of the liquid we get inside of the sector much more like fun it being changed might have been definitely like long gate that might have changed that kind of the work of just like towards like it was fractional might be like that vertical speed of and some like things like and the game 12 of like all of like focus fractional like and the thing that make there might have had like a lot of that there might have been a lot of problems in like shirts and something between that long game and the game and in that way like and since like Jericho basically everyone from everyone in Jericho and like and here the person have follow or like see what the transform as like it's great to do like and focus on the lyrics that might have been what I or everything that don't have take a lot of games starting to like into the to right not just like never not but also like but also like Jericho effort might be like that type of situation between episodes. This might be like that bigger scale of like and bigger slant of like something. For example, like the human frame right now is the base of like through that the help of that thing through anything like and so putting these definitely survive. Just like the way make a point reflecting that I was producing at. The play of the spring that anything club eventually getting like the night shade to it like eventually come to like Wednesday or speech that will get another so that when that Wednesday that was really like when come at like some specific that so bring at like a that like support that hosted that people then like support groups that never want to wear on the spring that can say to be waking up in like the right state with like the scenario that I'm again like the percent of flag topic as well as flag kind of perspective scenario that I'm going. So at that point, when I was my like totally like all probably like start my while debating like thought in like figure game and like ultimate plan and not strategy. As to like what it is like I'm different that thought it like dictating out and explaining to that extent. In an all confident manner the bomb like not really planning on like taking that out but like doing scenario that so like getting this plan like I'm going like not giving like all to that like the trailer to that they take let's get out and focusing like right on that point like turning in turning into his like high form and basically at that point as like kind of would be about to like take out Wednesday and that will happen against when I could find like the night shades like making that kind of uh along with like anything that as well like doing this scenario kind of the like kind of famous and also going back on that anything that because like setting off like the night shades because remember before like setting off like the night shades to like save Wednesday like anything like anything like also morning yeah about like the bigger situation yeah, about like the internet about like content like finance and like so things like another that I'm definitely think being able to like communicate to anything that about like content being that it's not about like the right side of like the other And that way, like, number 20 years, like, because like the team of like Jonathan and like the reports will be making it to like the location of like knowledge and like provide cyber security and then basically like by the mechanism like the nitrates like making their move and then putting that the value again to the next nitrates and that was the high so basically, without bigger and physically might have reached at the point where like that might should would be getting off for like the or in front of like high fiber like using now with that so like and I'm going like at that point like the high fiber that about to that take out that statement in the scenario that so like at that with last second is when I was trying that the missing member of like the night state like making to like ultimate return so the at that point favor like making just like grand angles and is good let's say no fiber the right like that's enough and at that point I was trying like favors like and some looking like favor so that's about the thing that they will actually might be having that one point for that we probably better. So that the same when I say that the upper that when they interact with like sailor like and something like they were having a lot of like that change in the like rating and basically they were eventually ending up that they preparing to that bring down side of that thing to now I think that's just like scenario that I was doing that way like a sailor injury most likely while in that get feel like a bit like say that like you bring out the black man powers and get like a finish being at this point of like Sega to like bring himself from that into the sense they get like I'm using like my powers like Sega this one into like a and I can see that break free and let's get then in the scenario that I'm that seeing how like I'm thinking fundamental framework and maybe that means so like I'm trying to say that actually taking like ultimate to land the battle location and I'm so thing like say that like team that way Wednesday from Tyler is like scenario that and that way like it's like the kind of like the number of like nitrates like all the remaining nitrate members like getting that absolute confidence and basically then more collectively taking taking on like the high Tyler, the team of like the high Tyler, that's like something that's taking the scenario that I'm sort of something and definitely I'm bringing like content as well as really bringing more like using all those like can move things also like about the therapy but also I think against like the nature also the thing recommend like the on the control the going for different when is also gathered by like high liner as well it's like regarding such as like high liner while also on the level that they make it more as well so certain way it's like you know like and so you bring like the better of like say like the night checks and that are more helpful standard and like that totally eventually or from and ticketing like between that side of not in this that stage scenario that is and that exactly at that point when I was putting that setting of that gadget as well as like just like telescope like this it would be finally making it to that 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 is getting the scenario to the thing and my good exam will be taking title and so on to every like scenario that is going to bring up the and I'm also prepping for like the current night to be a full moon night and then slowly bring that 20 in similar like level transformation like 20 happening on the very night at like the that rotation while some of the similar will be in the ending up in like actually change of kind of situation against like the high monster high level like that will last again I'm saying that in the similar like transformation that will transformation as well happening. It's also like in front of like a shop like Wednesday and that sort of recognize it like the scenario that I'm about to take and that way like anything left in the role from being able to that contribute to like the battle of them. Eventually, like the scenario that I'm about to go to bring and